Welcome to Craig Back Zone.
Awesome.
Yay! I'm excited. Welcome to Katie
Me
Black
too.
Show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so sorry about all the scheduling
Oh
errors.
my gosh, no problem. That makes it like it's more exciting, isn't it?
It is, yes. But we got it finally. I'm so excited to be talking with
Oh,
you. I've been
do you
looking
want to
forward.
introduce yourself?
Sure. So, hello everyone. My name is Natalie Carr with two R's. I am a singer, songwriter, and engineer here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
What's up? One of the biggest acts in town.
Trying.
So, 18 directions, I always tell my guests, but so where were you born slash where'd you grow up?
So I am from Stamford, Connecticut. That's where I was raised. It's about 45 minutes outside of New York City. And I moved down to Durham for college. I went to Duke. I moved when I was 18 and then I graduated. I stayed in Durham for a year and then I moved to Charlotte. It's kind of random. I think a lot of people that end up in Charlotte, like, they don't have a specific reason as to why they ended up here. I don't know if that's, you're nodding. So I'm like, yeah, it must be consistent with your
Well,
experience.
yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because LOL, I was born and raised here, and I'm still like, how did I end up here?
You're
But
like, well, I'm from here. Yeah,
but
you're
I
one of
get
the
it.
OGs. You're one of the OGs, and it's funny because when I moved here four years ago, and I feel like it's increasing the amount of people that I talk to that are not from here, that are from New York or from Connecticut, New Jersey. But I just kind of ended up here. I knew I wanted to be a musician. I didn't really know what that looked like or where to start on that journey. But I was working with a mixed engineer in Durham when I was in college, and he had moved here and had a pretty good network. And I guess just one of the things about the generation we live in is like you don't really need to be in LA or Nashville or New York or what have you. And I didn't have any money, so that was just not on the table right off the bat. And so I ended up here, and I feel like it has worked out well for me. And I love living somewhere where I go somewhere and I know somebody like pretty much everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I
yeah.
always ask people like, how would you describe Charlotte to someone that's never been?
It's okay. It's new. So yeah, like coming from New England, especially outside New York City, everything's very old as far as like, the states go. It's very new. It's almost like a simulation. Everyone's just active and outside.
Sure.
But it's a fun place to be. It's really a social place. It's easy to make friends here. And so I tell people if you're looking for a new place to pop into, Charlotte is a good bet. Um,
Oh, I love
I
that.
definitely think the Gen Z, they have fun. They're like, I look at these younger kids and a lot of the ways that they think and how they speak, and I'm like, this is growth. Like, this is progress. So, hats
Totally.
off to them in a lot of ways.
Totally. And
Yeah.
TikTok is like, wow, this is like the most accepting group of like internet
Yeah.
friends that are, I don't know, I can't describe like a community. And that's kind of
It
like how I feel about the
is.
younger generation as well.
I think they hold each other accountable. It's kind of an interesting thing to see. So, it's a good thing.
True that. Okay. So, first of all, what is the story? How do you get like, how do I say this? Like, how do you get notified that you have a blue check mark on Instagram?
Oh,
Is there a
well,
story behind that?
yeah, no. So I have some friends that had been verified for what it's kind of like this mysterious process. If anyone is listening and can understand or relate to it, if you have a brand or a business or you're a public figure or if you're an artist, I know that I had tried a few times just like here and there to submit because I did have a lot of press like the last few years. There were a lot of like notable publications that had my name and I thought, well, I mean, it just could help, you know what I mean? It's not going to hurt. Um, I always say I can like troll celebrities now when they'll see it, so that's fun. I was a lot of talk before it happened. I was like, just wait, I'm gonna like troll everyone. Now I'm not doing any of that. But so I had submitted a few times, and they just it's very hard through the app. I'm signed to a small label, and we have like a PR company that we work with, and one of the representatives there was able to help, but it was still kind of a difficult thing. It's definitely not something they're handing out like candy, and I think it's dumb because I think some people have it and you're like, why are they verified? And then a lot of people don't have it and they like maybe should be. So It's like a black box. I don't really understand it, but I did wake up really hungover one day, which is rare for me these days, but I did. And I was like, whoa. I was like, cool. I thought it was a joke, but I got the
So you literally just like wake up and you're blue, like it's blue.
that's what happened. Like, cause I saw the text from this person first being like, all right, well, like, I think we got it to work, but I didn't know what he was talking about. And then someone else had texted me about it. So it was cool. It was a fun day. I mean,
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
It is and that's what I say. I'm like, I always say if I didn't do music, I probably wouldn't even have social media. If I did, it would just be like a fake account, like a troll account, but honestly, or like just for my cats. But because it is so much of like what I have to focus on in this era of the music industry where we are, it is a lot of capital, and so something like that is cool. It's a milestone for me, but I think if it weren't for music, it would just seem ridiculous. But
I feel that.
Yeah, like, but it is cool. I mean, I should really start trolling my 90 Day Fiancé cast members, but
do it.
I got to do it. I would say, it wasn't. I love my family. We have our issues. I do love them. Mm-hmm. It was not encouraged. So, in that respect, the singing was very private. Like the poetry, the songwriting, all of it was like a very private, therapeutic thing for me. I didn't like share it with people. Nobody knew. I played instruments. That was encouraged because that could be, that was, I don't know, maybe.
I get that.
Their thought process was there. I'm not a parent, so I can't totally understand or empathize. But yeah, so that was okay. So I played piano and guitar, and I loved to sing, but I was told I was bad a lot. And but the thing about it is when you do it through your childhood, you're going to get better at it if you do it all the time. And so even today, I never claim to be the Mariah Carey. I'm not the Ariana Grande, but I do have a unique vocal style that I've honed in, and I work hard at it. But I think what I'm best at is writing songs and writing music and arranging music. But I would say, yeah, they were kind of hand in hand. I knew I was a good poet, and I loved words. I knew I was a good writer. So I would say that maybe that came first, but I made myself sing, man. You can make yourself do anything, really.
Damn straight. Well, no, I mean, I guess that's fascinating just because I think you have a great voice. And also, do you get nervous before going on stage?
Oh my God, yeah. I have terrible stage fright. I have terrible anxiety in general, but terrible stage fright. And it sucks because I thought it was something like my first show ever was last year in June. And I thought, like, okay, after like a few of these, like, there's no way I'm going to have stage fright, right? Like, it's like going to work. Like, I'm not going to feel this way every time, but it's funny because I do. But every single time I've performed, like the dozens of times now, I prove to myself every single time, yeah, maybe I'm nervous. Maybe there's things I could have done better. Maybe it wasn't like my best, but I always complete it, and like nothing crazy has happened. Like I still have a career. So I have to tell myself that, I just should give myself more props because I combat it, and I don't think people really understand the silent like war that goes on physiologically and just in my mind before preparing for things like this and going through it. It's pretty bad. And but like last night, like we picked up that show and we were opening for a bigger artist, and there were like 300 people there, right? They don't know who I am. But those are the reasons why I say yes to things like that, because I need to prove to myself that I'll be okay no matter what. And I went out, and by like the second song, I was like, all right, I'm good. I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Coming right from like doing it over and over and over again. And so I imagine like when we do a tour, like I think, the cobwebs will shake off. I don't think I'll be as nervous as I typically am, but it is bad. I would say like I'm not somebody that just thrives. I'm like, all right, my turn. Like I want to be in front of everybody. It's not me. Yeah. Because some people do. They're just performers. They're like, I want the spotlight, and I have to tell myself I do, but maybe I don't.
You do, but I think that's, again, I don't know. I just like that. I think that's totally normal.
Yeah.
I think that's totally normal. Okay, another question that I ask of like performers, whether they're comedians, what have you, artists, when you are on stage, like, do you like focus on something in the back of the room? Like, do you just space out and not looking at anybody, or what's that like?
Yeah, so I typically try to find Like in the past, I've always ensured that there's at least like one person there that I trust, that I love, who loves me, that I could get up there and throw up and they'd be like, yeah, go you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if that happens. So I'm fortunate enough to have, you know, a decent network of people that are like willing to just like come to these like one-off awkward, weird shows that I have been a part of, not to be named, but any kind of like weird festival or anything. But I usually try to like hone in on that one person and perform to them. And but yesterday, like again, like I put myself in a situation. I hadn't told anyone to come because we found out the night before, so I really didn't have that much like leeway. And I tried to challenge myself to just look at people's eyes, like specific people in the audience, and like it just takes, if you're just looking for one like virtue signal of like someone is engaged, someone cares about what you're doing, it's a very validating thing when people are like attentively listening, swaying, singing, anything like that. So I just try to look for that, and then I can just kind of like look at the back of the room and just be like, okay, I got this, I'm good. Like people aren't booing, they're not throwing tomatoes. Like it would be cool to get to a point where I don't need any of that feedback, but that's just not the kind of person I am.
Record Wasted Potential is out, and I know that MTV named it like spanking new.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, dude, that was cool. The MTV thing was, it's been, when I think back to like some of the stuff that's happened this year, I'm like, because I get down on myself so much, but I'm like, dude, there's so many cool things that happen that like if you told me would have happened when I was younger, I'd been like over the moon. Does that ever happen to you? Like you just hit these little wins and milestones, and then like the next day you're like on to feeling bad about something else.
Yeah, no, totally,
So dumb.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Or I was like,
Cool.
I mean, I know this like might sound like really like awful, but like I was telling someone, they're like, oh, like I was telling like this is happening and like this is happening, and they're like, oh, are you really excited? And I'm like, not really. Like, I mean, I am for that like moment,
Right.
of course,
Right.
and then it passes,
Right.
which again, me being analytical, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
I guess that
It is,
normal?
though. I think it's this trap we all fall in. It's like if we, and that's why, you know, they always say like money doesn't buy happiness, because we're all like, oh my God, if I have billions of dollars and I could just like be a Kardashian, how great would life be? But it's like, the funny thing is you make new problems no matter what condition you're in.
No,
You really do. And that's why gratitude is so important, because we really do. We just invent new things to not feel good about ourselves, or new things that we want and need that we don't have, like no matter what stage you're in. You know what I mean? And so
Trader
we're
Joe's.
just like 2 minutes away, like walking. So I'm like, you know,
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, well, then you got a good girl.
right. So it's just like, it's easier. So I have to go. But if it was Publix, I'd probably be happier. I think that they have better stuff.
Yeah. Well, shout out their buffalo chicken dip. Have you ever messed with that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my
I have it
number.
in my fridge.
That's my number one. That's my number one.
Oh my God, yay.
Yes. Going more into like your music, your songs, your music videos. Is there a reoccurring car in some of your music videos, or am I wrong?
That's really funny that you asked that. Like, I wasn't expecting you to ask that, because no.
Okay.
So-
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But-
I had this moment and I was like, wait, I'm sorry.
No, but that's the reason why that's so funny is that this next song I have coming out is called Drive. And so, you know, jokingly, like, there's no way we're gonna be able to do this video without having a car. Like, there needs to be a car. The song's about someone driving away. Like, there will be a car. But it's so funny because Bloodbind had a car. Well, Wasted Potential had the motorcycles. So yeah, I mean, I just can't get away from vehicles somehow. I'm like, damn, I shouldn't have used it for Bloodbind. I should have waited, but it's okay. There's only so many things I can do, you know? I use up all my ideas as we go. Like, I'm gonna have to like jump out of planes going for, like, I'm using them all up.
Thanks,
Like, I
guy.
can't think of anything else, but somehow we always do, so that's good. It's been a year of videos, a lot of videos this year. People always have to remember that I have to remind myself of too, is like, some of your favorite artists that like you would break down, like meeting them and spending time with them, like they are your favorite artists. I might not even know who they are. Obviously there's like the Miley Cyruses, the Dua Lipas, everyone knows who they are, right? But they don't necessarily mean something to every person. And they're the biggest kahunas in the ocean, right? Or the river. But some of my favorite artists are really small, and a lot of people don't know who they are. And so I have to think about that. Like, sometimes I'm like, I'm so irrelevant, like no one cares what I do. And not even in a self-deprecating way. I get lazy sometimes with, how I present songs or topics or like how I like drive my content. Like I've been guilty of just being kind of like lackadaisical about it because I'm like, oh, well, I have to do this because like no one really cares. Like, woe is me. But then there are like those 10 to 15 people that are like, hey, did you post the lyrics for this yet? Because because I'm going on vacation tomorrow night, and they give a shit and they really fucking care about what I'm doing, and yet I walk down the street here and people are like, oh my God, I hate her, or whatever. I'm just joking. But like, it's just funny. Like, I have to realize like I mean something to somebody out there, and what I'm doing means something to someone out there. And so, to me, fame is like an elusive thing. I don't know if I'll ever be famous, but I do know that to certain people, I'm going to mean a lot. And that's a standard that I have to like uphold and remember and carry with me. There are creeps. There have been. I think even now with like a smaller following, but like still like it's growing, it takes a lot of time to respond to like messages, I guess.
Well, that's what
it's already starting to be like kind of a lot between all the different platforms. Like it's already kind of taking up a lot of time. And I think as it grows, and I expect it to grow because we're going to keep going, but like I think it'll be weird. I don't know at what point I won't be able to give like all my energy to talking to people like every day, if that makes sense. I know that might sound dumb, but it is a realistic concern because I'm like, I'm already like, this is taking up a lot of time and I only have like, this many followers. I'm like, what is it going to happen when it's like this many, right?
Well, I guess it's almost like, I say this with a lot of like friends on and off the show, like whatever the scenario is, like you'll know when it's like too much and you won't give a shit, and you don't, you not responding won't mean shit at some point, right?
Right. And that's all that matters. But no, there's definitely weirdos. I think especially as a female artist, it's weird because in the beginning, like you're really trying to just keep people in your corner. You want them to buy merch. You want them to come to shows. You want them to engage with your posts. You want them to stream your songs. There's nothing wrong with that. It is a business, right? Like I'm not just doing this for my health. Otherwise, I wouldn't be releasing it. And so there is this level of like you want to keep people around, and so you put up with more. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like hits on you subtly. You're like, oh, well, I don't want to be like, hey, fuck you, because I want you to still be my fanboy, right? Like, but I think getting older, getting more mature, but also like growing, like an audience, I'm like realizing I can set boundaries, and there's just certain shit that's not worth it, and I don't have to put myself through it. And so I'm like feeling empowered going forward about that because I'm like, I don't need to entertain every stupid comment that I get. I don't need to like be everyone's best friend.
Right. Right. And
unless it's like authentic, in which case it's different. But I'm saying like the creepy guys or whatever, or the people that are just flat out trying to use you for something, right? Like that's another caveat that I'm mindful of.
That's good. Yeah, something that like that's happened to me like post turning 30 is just instead of saying anything, like a thumbs up is like great. Just like like it's just kind of like a period. Yeah.
No, 100%, or just a heart, or like I think like, you know what I mean? Like it's like you have to respect your own time and your own like boundaries, right?
Absolutely. And like I said, I mean, I'm nowhere in the category you are, but like even as a youth, like I felt like I was always like a people pleaser, and like so it worked. You have to
like if a guy asked for your number, you'd be like, oh yeah, sure, even though no interest, but it's just like the easier route. But now it's like we're getting older, where I'm like, I don't need you to like me,
Right.
I don't need you to be my friend,
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. You know what? Like next time someone asks for your number that's a creep, just tell them like 911. Just just say 911.
Yeah. But I know, it is like you just get tired of it and you're like, no.
But it's a process, because I think with everything, like regardless, it's like if you've been operating this way for X amount of years, it's gonna take, you got to like retrain your brain to XYZ, right?
Yeah.
Love all my plants are dead.
Yes, it's a fun song.
How, in a nutshell, like how did that come to you? Who inspired that, if you can say, or
so that song is I wrote that one. I remember writing that one relatively quickly. It was like a quick write. So I do this series for those listening. It's just like songs I quickly write, and I put them on social media, on YouTube and Instagram, TikTok, and all that jazz. And that one I wrote like in a day. One of my main like producer, because I work with several producers, but like my main guy like had sent me just a few like beats, right? Like a few. And I liked that one. I thought it was like fun and poppy. And I was like, this is kind of like a different vibe for me. And so I just came up with the lyrics and I loved it. And then the line about Berlin hoping he doesn't move to Berlin on a whim. That line is about my friend Matt, who's just a friend, but he was at the time like having this existential crisis, and he was like, I'm moving to Germany. And I was like, what? And so I was like, wow. And he was like, no, I'm really going to move to Berlin. And so when I sat down to write the song, I liked Berlin as a city. It just came to me. Because it wasn't like New York or in LA. It wasn't something like trite that's overused. I was like, oh, Berlin's kind of like a different, and it rhymes with the next word I want to use. So a lot of the times I write, it just like, just comes out, right? Like I'm not really thinking like a rapper. I'm just like, boom, 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 boom.
That's
boom.
awesome though.
Yeah, which is why it's like kind of a unique style, because I don't overthink it. And when I overthink it, I don't think I write good music. Personally. I don't know. I don't want to think that it's not real.
Oh girl, yeah. No, I love all that stuff, except as you record, Jeffrey Dahmer's like #1 on Netflix right now. Have you dived into that?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing, yeah.
And what's your, again, I'm all into culture and society. Like what do you think happened to that kid?
I think, I mean, it's so the serial killer thing I separate from like the ghosts and stuff. I mean, that's less fun. That's like,
yeah, sorry.
Right? No, but it's true. But it's all in the same, like, I mean, we're all fascinated by true crime. I really liked the show. I thought they did a good job at highlighting just what it meant to be a person of color at that time in history, and like why this should have been solved so many times, and that these people were ignored and his victims were on the news because they weren't white. I think all of that, and just humanizing the victims, like Pony's episode, I don't know for those watching, but it meant a lot to me that it wasn't just, oh, these are people he murdered, and it was like, this was this person with his hopes and dreams, his whole life ahead of him, his family that cared about him, and like that to me was like maybe what's missing from a lot of these like true crime documentaries and shows. So I loved it in that respect, because I was like, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. 'Cause it was a big deal, you know. It makes you enraged watching, or that's how I felt. I just felt so angry that like this guy got away with so many. There was no reason for that to have happened, and it still happens. But
it's still someone I was like though, but I was like trying to like, again, how many times can I say analyze in this last like 45 minutes? But analyze all the like especially the serial killers of like the 70s. So like that was like Dahmer was like,
what's going on? You're right.
Bundy, and someone, again, no, you know, whatever, anyone's listening, whatever. But this is what this gal told me this past week, and she says that she read some kind of article, what have you, that there's a theory that like all these crazy guys, like the span of the time that they were born, obviously like abortion wasn't legal, and like not that means that no one had them, but that like these are all people from like really broken dysfunctional homes that maybe like they should have, like, I don't know, they should have aborted if that was an option, like a legal option,
right? Here we are now.
Yes. Oh
right, it is, history repeats, it does. Like, you're so right about that.
And I was like, oh wow,
Dahmer was weird because it was like a lot of these serial killers have like terrible upbringings, and like for all intents and purposes he didn't, right? And so that was fascinating, because I was like, all right, this dude like came out the womb just
fucked, and that's what
fucked, like couldn't control it, really wasn't raised that bad. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't like terrible, right? And I was like, wow, like but that goes to show that some people just have these conditions that they're literally coming to the table with.
Okay, one more question about Dahmer and I'll get off of it. But then I kept seeing this thing, and I go back and again, I watch old interviews, that the dad keeps saying that the kid was never the same after like some hernia surgery.
I know, I've heard that too, and he could be totally right. Like, maybe
what do you think about that?
Maybe, because I'm not a doctor, but like, what if maybe something happened? I mean, it was the 70s. I mean, things still happen today. There's medical malpractice, or things happen and people swear that they're different or there's something wrong. And the doctors are like, no, you're fine. And then it comes out that there was a mistake made during a surgery. So, I mean, it's super possible.
True that. Well,
I'm usually on the side of doctors and science, just to say that. But
same here.
It's possible. It's possible that they fucked him up. Like,
which is, yeah, like, so that's the one thing I've zeroed in on. So I'm like, wait, what?
Do you believe in ghosts?
In ghosts?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Just because there's one story that I say that because there's one story that I have told like so many times, but I love it. Okay, so the only time I think I saw a ghost was when I was in Charleston 3 years ago.
Believe it.
And Charleston's weird.
Yeah, dude. It's
Carlson's weird. And it was this guy coming towards me, and he was like in what you would say Civil War attire. But I was like, oh, whatever, this is weird. Like, whatever, this place is weird. There's probably like reenactments, like whatever. And I was with my sister and her friend. We were walking. It was like broad daylight. I think that was the other weird thing, that it's like you always think like it's at night. You like that's when you see a ghost. Like, and he was walking, and he had like a gun literally like resting on right here. And I was just like, oh, that's so this guy, like this place is so fucking weird. Whatever, you know. And walking, and he was gonna pass me. We're on a one-way street. No cars. And I was like, oh my God, he's finally gonna pass. We're gonna walk right past. And just as I said that, like, gone.
Did they see him?
No, I kept telling my sister, because they were up a little ahead of me. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, Molly, Nursey, I was like, dude, did you just see that? Like, that guy just disappeared or whatever. And they were like, oh, whatever. Like, you know, they always think I'm like weird, like, whatever, Katie.
No, I totally believe you. Just the fact the Civil War attire, the gun, like that all makes sense, right? That's crazy.
The weirdest part I tell people is I said it to them. They like blew me off. And I literally blocked it out for almost like 3 years until I started talking to people about it. And it like came back to my like front lobe or whatever.
What the hell?
That was the weirdest part. I tell people that was the weirdest, like I blocked it out.
Do you think after that experience you are like more inclined to like seek out situations where you'd see ghosts? Or are you more like, that was way too real, I don't ever want to experience something like that again?
No, because it didn't really scare me. I know that sounds so crazy.
It was broad daylight. You thought it was a real person. Yeah.
I mean, I have really like weird clairvoyant dreams that I probably had for 6 years. I'm trying to like understand that. And sometimes I'm obsessed with watching like unsolved mysteries. And sometimes I'll feel, this sounds so crazy, but sometimes I'll feel like if someone has passed and they're talking about someone being passed, like for like, 10 seconds, maybe I'll feel their energy. But again, this is something that I share with, my family, and they're like, okay, sweetie, like, what do you say? What do you say?
Because you're right, because most people aren't going to believe you, but I do. I see, if you ever need to just vent or tell me, I'm like, I'm here because I love this stuff. It does not bore me, and I do believe in it. I don't know why, I just do.
That's good. That's a great attitude, though, because I feel like how can you, I guess what I've kind of decided is regardless whether there's like actual ghosts or what have you, everyone knows like can be at least, or I would hope, like open enough to realize like there's no way that this is it.
Right.
Whatever that means, right?
I see, I like to think that too. I just like to think that there has to be some kind of meaning. I mean, I have tell myself that to not go like crazy and be existential and sad.
So Natalie, tell people where people can find you on social and your music.
So it's Natalie Carr with 2 R's, and my Instagram is and TikTok are Natalie Carr Music. Facebook is Natalie Carr, YouTube Natalie Carr, and then Twitter is Natalie Carr 2 R's Muse MUS1. Because Natalie Carr Music was taken. But yeah, if you listen to this, please send me a message. I love when that happens, when people take the time to listen to me for a significant amount of time. It means a lot to know that y'all are out there. So thank you so much, Katie, for having me. This has been so fun. I wish we could do this every week.
Thank you so much. No, thank you for joining me. And like I said, it's that much better that you had an awesome time. I always want people it be fun.
Really fun. This is great. This has been such an honor. I'm so excited, and you'll have to show me.
What up?